Hey everyone,
Hey
we're back
everyone.
again. We're back
I have to
again.
reveal.
It's
Hold on, I got to do the reveal. Go ahead,
uh,
Ray.
my name is Ray Bonilla, and I'm joined by a special guest, a doppelganger for Tyler Jacobson, Tyler
Hooray.
Jacobson stunt double,
All
Brock.
I got to say is I hate it, everybody, and it can't grow back fast enough.
You look good, man. You look nice and clean. You look about like I don't know, about 15 years younger.
I'm going into some kind of business meeting or something.
Yeah, or that, or like about to hand in your taxes, or like go out in public as an artist. That's
Speaking
usually
of
when
that,
I
I
yeah.
still got to do my taxes. So thanks for that reminder.
Oh gosh, do your
Well,
taxes, kids.
hello everybody. I used to be Tyler Jacobson. Now I'm somebody else. And Ray and I are here to do some fun paintings again. And we are being produced and hosted by the amazing Kate Welch. Cha 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 cha.
Cha 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 cha. What's up? I'm here. Ask your questions in the chat. I'm monitoring. I will pass it along to the boys.
All right. What are we doing today, Ray?
I think we are doing. Actually, it's a combination of what, like, a theme that we had in our head, like that we had discussed before, mixed in with an actually a request from the chat, if I remember correctly.
That's
So
right. It seems right.
we decided we wanted to do villains, like in kind of in our like 80s movie theme sort of portraits. Last week we finished up our paintings of Uhura, played by Nichelle Nichols, which was awesome. Tyler did a great painting on that, and the time lapses are up in our Instagram, and as well as the full episodes up on our YouTube, as well as our video on demand in Instagram. So check that out. I mean, in Twitch. So check that out. So we wanted to do villains, and then someone in the chat, I can't remember the name, so forgive me if you're the one that suggested it. Suggested Grand Moff Tarkin from Star Wars.
Grand Moff Tarkin coming at us.
From New Hope, and I guess Rogue One. You can say, if you want to keep in continuity. So that's what we're doing.
He's in it.
So last painting, Tyler and I painted from the same exact reference. This time we're doing the same character, but doing our images completely differently.
And I'm wondering what frames we ended up picking. Maybe we're close. I snagged a frame out of the movie, and I think you're going to do an illustration. Essentially, you kind of put a bunch of different references together.
Yeah.
The way you and I, or most illustrators would build references, like a bunch of different photographs that you kind of hack together in Photoshop so that it's all the right poses and lighting that you want to work with.
Yeah. So I built mine out of, let's see, 4 different photographs, 4 different separate pieces of photographs. I might have used a piece from 2 pieces from a single photograph, and then cut them up and resized them and things like that. So, and completely changed the color, which is what we're going to talk about actually afterwards. And just to run down what I did. This time I did it right. Last painting, I wanted to do what's called a gouache lift out, which is you throw transparent gouache down, which is an opaque watercolor. And if you don't seal it, you can actually lift it back up. But I messed up when I did it in a last painting, because I used acrylic white as a base, and that's really plasticky. So what happened was, with the gouache lift out, you really have to have your pencils be really, really dark. And when you use just a regular acrylic, it tends to get a little plasticky when you really thicken it up. And I laid it on pretty heavy to kind of get these nice textural brush strokes. And so I ended up doing something completely different and promised that I would do a gouache lift out after that. So I got some gesso. I got some
Jesus.
gesso, and I gessoed it, which, as I explained last stream or last episode, um, the gesso gives you tooth, but also it allows the pencils to get really dark really easily, and you need dark pencils to see through the dark wash that you're going to put down afterwards. And so I'm going to do a gouache lift out and then finish my piece with acrylics. I did the underdrawing was done on in graphite pencil. I think I don't even know. It was maybe a 4B, maybe, or 2B, which is just softness.
Just get you a nice dark line, right?
Yeah. With gesso, everything gets dark, But I used a lead holder, which you can Google that. So I didn't. I forgot what lead I had in there when I was drawing it. So I have a nice prepped drawing now, which leads us to Tyler's piece, which he doesn't draw. He doesn't have thin pencil lines that are imperceptible to any modern camera.
No pencil lines at all. Actually, I'm gonna do. So, I guess a little history. I used to participate in my friend Kieran had a coffee shop in Georgetown, and we used to do like portrait paintings there every Sunday.
Yeah, when you had a beard, right?
Yeah, when I was when I was an older man.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it in that same approach where I have no drawing. I'm just going to draw straight onto the board with paint and do a really sort of like very alla prima oil painting. So I'm going to just use black and white this time so that I can, kind of like what Ray did with his Nichelle Nichols piece. I'm just going to start from values, and I really want to nail the values and get an accurate portrait of good old Peter Cushing, the Grand Moff Tarkin. So that's how I'm going to go. I'm just going to go straight all oils. And I think Ray and I had chatted about changing up techniques. So maybe next time I'll try and do what Ray's doing this time, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But yeah, I do want to jump back to you, Ray, though, and ask where do you feel this technique you're about to do originated, or who taught you about this technique?
So actually, it was first kind of revealed to me by Bill Mon, our teacher, one of our mentors from the Academy of Art. And he had mentioned, and he taught us at first, he actually did this thing called the oil lift out, where you thin down oils with like a turpentine, or mineral spirits, and it thins it down into like a wash, and you could throw a wash down. And because the mineral spirits evaporate really quickly, you can speed it up with a hairdryer if you want to. You could then remove the oil paint with a rag fairly quickly. Or if you hair dry it, if you hair dry it, where you just evaporate the mineral spirits, but not the paint. Don't dry out the paint. It's like a sweet spot. You can actually lift it out with a kneaded eraser. It's pretty cool. So it's the same idea of, it's been used forever. It's not like he created it, but later on, he had told me about how you could do it with gouache as well. And I always wondered how to do that. And so I ran into many illustrators, namely David Grove, who's a really great Hall of Fame illustrator. He did movie posters such as Something Wicked This Way Comes.
One of the best one of the best movie posters of all time.
Yeah, The Outsiders. He did tons of stuff, National Geographic, advertising, book illustrations. It was like incredible. And so David lived in San Francisco, and I met him towards the end of his life, but he did a very similar type of lift out technique. He actually did it with gouache. And so I asked him about it, and he has a book actually that came out that he had written himself that detailed this technique. And I fooled around with it here and there, trying to, get his angle on it. And then it wasn't until I started to use it when I ran across a video by an artist, mutual favorite artist of Tyler's and mine's, Thomas Blackshear. where he actually showed in a video how he did it, and he was emulating David Grove's style. So it wasn't exactly right, but he was emulating it, so he got the same kind of effect. And from there, I realized, oh, I can combine this with all these different ways of doing this. And so this is the great thing about techniques, is like once you understand their function that a given step serves, you can mix and match any type of medium as long as it's compatible, and get a completely different look. And so they would maybe lift it out with gouache and do a lot of the gouache lift out, and then come back over it with just some touches of acrylic here or there, or maybe some Prismacolor pencils, or otherwise known as color pencils. I'm going to lift it out with gouache and then come back over it opaquely, and paint with it with acrylic. And then whatever I need to finish, I'll finish it with oil paints afterwards. So I can do maybe a little bit of glazing and color, because I'm just going to use black and white and one color. Because I can't help myself. I love color.
I'm using burnt umber and white, so I'm not cheating like Ray is today. Everybody. Actually, I might use a little French ultramarine to get some real darks, but we'll see.
Well, welcome to the dark side, my friend.
So yeah, I guess let's jam in on these, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll do our usual bullshit while we roll here.
Yeah. Any questions on Tyler's current life choices from chat?
Don't worry, I regret it, everybody.
J. Cornell Art has already dubbed you Jailer Jacobson, and I am very tempted to change the overlay.
You should, first of all, and like I'd said earlier, there was another Tyler, an evil Tyler, and I killed him.
Yeah, evil Tyler's the one with the beard. That's something evil Tyler would say, though.
Yeah, that's very much something evil Tyler would say,
So I'm just gonna rough in the shape here, because remember, as I go through this one, I'm really gonna be pushing paint around on this one, so I don't need like a super tight drawing. This is usually how I do if you've seen on my Instagram, the old portraits that did the conservatory, that is how I started, with a fairly rough drawing.
And I am just using sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this guy's got a very interesting face, so I want to make sure I get it as accurate as I can. So he's got, he's super gaunt. This is the right term for it. I'm not against like doing a caricature of him, but I want to really get an accurate drawing of his face.
Yeah, I love this.
Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love this character. So I think getting the characters is super important. If you want it to feel, it's not enough that it looks like a character when you're doing characters, especially recognizable characters from like licensed properties or like we're doing in this case. It's very important when and this is more like illustration stuff. It's very important that it feels all the elements feel like that character as well. And so that's what Tyler's trying to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler. I mean, you're looking at the facial features and thinking about that as you're constructing your image, as you're thinking out the drawing and whatnot.
Right. I'm trying to go accurate with this. I could get an accurate portrait of Peter Cushing. Sorry, not Autobots. Peter Cullen, Peter Cushing, the best way for me to get that accuracy is to get all the shadow shapes on his face correct. And so that's kind of where I'm going to begin is blocking in. I mean, right now I'm just doing a loose landmarks. I'm marking where I want these features to be, but then I'll start with the really accurate shadow shapes. And that's how I'll keep an accurate portrait of this guy.
Yeah, so it always begins, for both of us, it always begins with a drawing phase, and where the most important thing is you get the most important elements down. And you notice Tyler's not starting out, throwing detail or anything like that. And he's throwing in very specific, big masses. And it's very important to always start off simple, get everything in, and then refine later. Because if you don't have, if Tyler's not happy with let's just say the placement of the head, if he keeps it simple, like in this case, if he wanted to move it, it wouldn't be that much effort, right? I mean, he didn't, he wouldn't have invested all that much time at this point. But if he only found out that he needs to move the head, after he had put all of the detail and everything in, then that would have been like a big waste of time for him.
Yeah, and I guess I'm in a forgiving scenario here, right? Like Ray just said, like I can move stuff around quite easily here. So I don't have to be too strict about where I put stuff.
So what I'm seeing,
Ray cheated and he put a drawing down.
Right.
So
Ray cheated, obviously, but you've got like a human head with like a lunar lander inside of it, which I think is a big advantage.
Oh wait, is this where the lem is?
Yeah, it's inside Peter Cushing's head.
Oh yeah.
I like it. I'm a space nut, and so if I can sneak in a lem or a command module or whatever we're going for, I'm happy about it. So Ray, you said you were painting on just gessoed. Is it board or?
Paper again.
Paper.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
This time I am also again working on that aluminum stuff, the artifacts.
Yeah, I'm gonna maybe eventually switch over to panel, but I paint with panel on wood panels so often that I like to change up, And it's taped to a board this time. You don't really see my my sketchbook here. Oh, by the way, I am just taking a brush, a small brush. See that, right? And it's just basically just dipped in water, and I am just lifting out to removing the gouache in all of the light areas. If I scrub hard enough, I can actually get back down to like almost near white of my paper. I had toned everything. I gessoed everything or primed everything a bright white, just regular white gesso. So that's a cool advantage of this. It's you could actually use this as a really fast way. It's almost like a faster, quicker way of establishing an underpainting, like I had done with the Michelle Nicholas piece. Where the whole goal of it is to get the drawing and the composition in, and also the values in, right, that you're going to use. Well, you can lifting out is a really quick way of doing that because you're using the white of the your ground or the thing you started with as a value instead of having to create all of the values into it. Now I'm going to go back in with the darks and everything like that, but you're going to see it's going to come together really quickly. I like to start off with the lights, just some of the obvious, really, really, really light areas. And then I'm going to just lift out the rest of these light areas. Anything that I feel needs to be lifted out.
I got a question.
That was one of my, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, a question from the chat from Evacuate. Do you generally work with the same size canvas, and what dictates those choices for a project?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I mean, I'm always working on different sized ones. Most of my, because I'm working in oils now for my magic cards, there's a bunch of canvas sizes I'm working on that sort of match the aspect ratio of a lot of magic cards. But Ray, you're for your work, you've been doing all kinds of different sizes, right?
Yes, yeah. And so for this show, we work on the same size, really for educational benefits, right? To show you, like, just because something is 9, we both work on 9 by 12, 9 inches by 12 inches. We use the imperial measuring system. So apologies to our European crowds.
The one that's weird and arbitrary sounding.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we've thoroughly alienated Europe at this point.
Yeah. Well, I don't know now. Maybe not, because that was the last Tyler, right? That was the last Tyler's like legacy.
That's why we did this.
Good point.
That's why we did this, really.
Yeah.
I want to try and get back in the graces of
No,
at
you
least the
don't
North
want to.
peoples.
You have nothing to worry about because that wasn't you. This is the whole point,
Yeah, no, not me.
right?
I mean,
Right?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I have a clean slate. I'm good.
I knew a guy in college. I was an RA, a resident assistant in university, and we would basically. I was just a sophomore, like a second year, who would basically make sure that the first years don't kill themselves, right? And so it was like a glorified babysitter, but it paid for my room and a little bit of my board in school. So.
You're the man. Is what you're saying.
But yeah, I know I was the man. I was like the man that you don't want to be, the authority figure. But I was a pretty cool RA. But you know, but I digress. But so there was one of my residents, the ones on my one of the students that was living in my little block, had told me that he had gotten kicked out of a bar for drinking underage, and so. Had thought that if he would take off his shirt, that he would be able to get back in, and he actually was able to get back into the bar, and he got admitted in by the same person that just kicked him out, and so
okay, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and so
that's some like Superman shit, taking your glasses off essentially.
Exactly. So that's what you're trying to do essentially with the beard, is what I'm saying.
It's been my goal all the time.
It's possible, so as long as we sell it, Oh man.
Just want a clean slate, man. I just made a fool of myself so many times. Okay, so I'm blocking in shapes now. I'm just gonna go and try and get really accurate shadow shapes, and I'm working pretty dark because I'm gonna establish my dark areas in my value statement first.
I will be putting in my darkest dark soon, the darkest value.
Now on yours, Ray, though, your darkest value is kind of, I mean, it's close to the wash that you put over it, right? Or would you say that wash is more of a mid?
It's more of a mid. I think it's more, I think it's more of in the middle. You can, so that's a great question. So the tone of the wash, it could be any value you want. I know like David Grove would often tone the wash the same, or the value of his shadows is going to be. And so, and other people tone it like more in the middle, so they can lift out lights and then push the darks. This is almost like a mid dark. I like to tone it like the general value range of the image. But I mean, I could do like a nice effect. There's so many cool effects you can do with like the wash and everything like that. If you design it, you can actually design it so that the painting is almost like coming out of the wash, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm not that good. And B, I was just a little lazy, so I thought, let's just do this. I have an idea. So my painting is actually going to be fairly dark. I'm looking at it right off camera here. So I'll be putting in that dark pretty soon. But this will give me a nice, I personally like to always work with like a nice base of things, of value. And lift outs give me just a little bit of enough value to work with, so I know like everything's going to be okay. I also do this a lot of times with like, from white, and then I'll actually use like washes with acrylics to do the same thing. And I'll do that with maybe sometimes, an airbrush, which is pretty cool. I'll maybe we'll do an airbrush one day.
Yeah,
I'm worried about the it getting a little bit too loud, but.
Are you using a compressor or are you using a can?
Yeah, we're using a compressor, but it's pretty quiet.
if anyone out there has seen the Drew Struzan's Hellboy painting demo, he does talk a little bit about, he uses cans because he feels like the compressor is loud. But if you want to if people out there want to mess around with airbrush, try either one and see how you feel, because there's no like right or wrong way.
So I looked into the cans, and it can be expensive at first, but as long as you have a can, a backup can ready to go of CO2. I think it's not. Is it? I forgot what it is. Is it CO2? CO2, right?
I think it is.
Yeah. Then you're good to go. I thought for the same price, I actually found this great. Now, Drew Struzan, for those of you, if you ever see that thing and he complains about it, he also talks about like the old school compressors, and they were pretty loud. I actually bought an old compressor off of Tyler. That was my first airbrush compressor, and that thing was like working in like the foundry. You know what I mean? Of like pistons. It was just like. It was like working in the Ford factory in the Detroit during the golden years, right? It's just
hey, it was cheap. Damn it!
It was man, it worked, right? But it was super loud. But the one that I have it just like purrs, and it's really not distracting at all. So they've gotten pretty good. But again, with you need an electricity source to use it, number one, and with CO2 canisters you don't. You just need a valve and things like that, and they're really easy to find because a lot of home brewers use it, for brewing beer. So you don't have to buy like an industrial sized canister. They're expensive though, man.
Well, yeah, and the ones Struzan's using are like 5 feet tall. They're just huge canisters.
Yeah, and you gotta like. Oh my God. Yeah. I called people up and they were like, you want to do what? And who what? They didn't know what I was trying to do,
Just gotta call Struzan up.
Drew Struzan? You don't know him?
Ray called Drew Struzan up when we were in school. He was very bold back then.
More like
just
an
called
idiot,
him up. He's in his studio. He said, hello. That's the way Struzan talks, that real chill California. Hey, how's it going?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I believe you did that, man.
I used to call, so I would ask, I asked Chuck Powell, the director of undergrad illustration at the Academy of Art, who still is, shout out to Chuck, if it was okay that I could try and recruit artists to come in and talk to the school, as a visiting artist. And he was like, fine, if you want to do that, that's fine with me. Knowing full well that none of these artists that I would call would end up talking because they were too busy, usually too busy, but
Yeah, I think that was Chuck's way of saying good luck.
Yeah, good luck, right? And so I secretly thought maybe I can do that, maybe I can actually get them to talk because I really wanted to see them. But I use it as also an opportunity to talk to them. And one of them was Drew Struzan, his number, I don't think it's on his website anymore, but it used to be on his website. And I just called him up, and I was in the studio and talking to him and stuff, and he couldn't have been nicer. He was just wrapping up the last Indiana Jones poster. It said he needed to go on a vacation and that he couldn't do it, but he was the nicest person ever.
Oh, that's right. You called him right before. I don't think any of us even knew that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was coming out.
No.
And then you called him. I think we working on that.
Yeah, we saw the teaser. I thought, didn't we?
Oh, maybe we had.
But
I think we were lukewarm about it, and we ended up being right.
But he was working on the final poster. Yeah, the poster, he did the final poster of it, but he, so it was, it was funny. It was fun. So I used to do that all the time, and it was great. And I can't believe I would do that, but this is before direct message, no Instagram or any social media really. I mean, there was Facebook, And
Yeah, but it's not like Strusen or any of those other artists were on it.
Oh God, no, And so, yeah. And I called Drew Strusen, and then I ran inside the Tyler studio.
Yeah.
And I told him I
talked to him.
He picked up. I talked to him.
He was just relaxing. I think, in the way Strusen relaxes, which is to paint a giant movie poster.
Hey, Tyler.
Karate Kids.
Yeah.
I got a question for you from the chat.
What's up?
Eric Davisheim. I hope I'm saying that right. Tyler, could you talk about transitioning from digital to oil for your work for Magic? And what sort of challenges have there been with that?
Oh, great question.
Yeah.
So I guess a little history, if people aren't aware. Most of my illustration career has been digital. I think when I first started out of school, I was doing oil paintings, and just got, I guess, hectic, or I don't know what actually drove me to it, but I wanted to try and do a piece fully in oils, and fully digital, just to see how I could handle it. And it turned out great. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going with this. And then 10 years later, I'm still doing digital. So I'd say about a couple years ago, I said, I'm going to try and push at least my Magic cards back into oils as a way of like slowly pushing myself back into it while still working on regular jobs, and at least trying not to surprise my art directors with a vastly different look. So that was another part of the challenge. So that challenge itself was interesting because it meant I needed to lean pretty hard on what I knew how to do digitally, because I'd gone such a long way in that with just that method. So I think,
which is hilarious, right? Because we both, like, when we first started doing paintings digitally, we were doing it to try and mimic our original painting style,
Yeah, exactly. That was totally the case.
Yeah.
Like I was initially trying to figure out what tools in Photoshop could reproduce all the stuff I knew in oils. So now I'm working that backwards. I'm trying to, because I know how to do so many different things digitally now, I'm like, okay, shoot, let's restart here. How can I figure out how to make those transitions? And then what it ends up being is most of the things you can do in Photoshop, you cannot do in oils the same way. So you have to plan ahead. And that has become my main mantra as I've reapproached working in oils, is tons and tons of planning, so that I can still get those effects that I want. I just have to really plan them out, do lots of color studies and digitally mock things up, just way more planning so that once you get into the paint, you're not lost. And I think that's been the biggest transition. There's no lens flare brush. You got to hand paint all those transitions. And that's crazy. So I am deep into that now, and it's been super fun. So I'll probably just keep on that road because I'm just having such a blast, like actually painting original paintings again.
Yeah, it's really
I don't know if that
answers
it. There's a lot I guess I could talk about the transition, but that's kind of the short of it.
Well, it's interesting to see you come back. I mean, it's you're a different artist now, and it's not like you are following the same, you don't have the same tendencies or think the same way, really, when you compared to when you went into it,
Yeah,
I think that's cool. Yeah.
And I totally agree. I think it's there's a major aspect of like I think early in my oils career in school and stuff, and coming into illustration, I think my imagination, I think, was limited by like, oh, I have this idea, but I can't actually achieve it in oil. And there was a freeing quality to digital where I could iterate like on the fly and make massive changes that you wouldn't be able to do. And that kind of opened my mind to what I could achieve. And so now I'm working backwards from that. I know what I can achieve. Now I have to figure out how can I achieve it in oils. And that's been super fun.
Yeah, I always, it's great to see that, you know, you go back to the medium, man. It's like
Thanks.
on a full-time basis. You've never really left oils. I mean, you never really
Right.
stopped painting traditionally, but you know, in a major, in terms of, this is the first time in a long time that you've started painting oils in a concerted effort, you know.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. You know?
Are there any
And it's,
techniques that you've had to specifically re-engineer, like reverse engineer rather, back into oils? That's a follow-up question from Eric.
yeah, I mean, like what Ray had just mentioned, like there's no lens flare brush. And not that I use lens flares in Photoshop, but um, there are like
Yeah,
glow, like subtle glow transitions that you really got to plan out because you have to physically paint all those transitions. You can't just take
yeah,
a soft brush on an overlay layer and just kind of brush in the effect. You have to remember that you're going to do these like chroma transitions and then like delicately mix those soft transitions. So if I'm going to do something that's I'm trying to make a glow effect, I mix all these piles of paint up on my palette that have that subtle transition and that delicate like shift in saturation. And it's all, I have to all lay that out. And it's, you know, it may or may not, some people may think, oh, that sounds like a complete headache, but it's super fun once you can get it down. I'm just loving getting back into what I've been calling the craft of it, you know, making a physical painting.
yeah. I think the what Tyler was talking about before, the planning kind of had to get re-engineered, right? I mean, like you can,
Yeah.
I think with like, and it's crazy to think that, you know, I'm known now for my traditional stuff, but like all of my illustration work was when I was doing it, you know, predominantly, you know, that was most of my work was digital. And, you know, different things kind of change. Like you can go into like Tyler said, like the iteration process, like you really can't, in a timely fashion, in an efficient fashion, iterate on a piece on your final surface, you know, and so and expect to do crazy iterations. So like if Tyler right now wanted to say, you know what, I don't want a head painting. I want a bust or a full figure of Peter Cushing, right? In order for him to do that, he would have to redraw everything and
Yeah. Or
recompose
build a new
everything, or
canvas
build a
or,
new
yeah.
canvas, right? Or digitally, all you would need to do is just, you know, lasso that, take that layer and shrink it down, or just expand the canvas size. No
Mm-hmm.
biggie. And he could use the same exact painting. All that work wasn't lost; it's saved. So I think the advantage, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, but the advantage I think you and I had in our training was that we came from traditional backgrounds, so we learned how to efficiently kind of break problems down and compartmentalize them in a way so that we wouldn't develop too many bad habits when fully switching over digitally. You know,
Right. We learned you really had to plan it out, or you're screwed. So
yeah,
that was something that was drilled into us,
which
and I
makes our
knew that,
digital
of
work
course.
better, but you know,
Yeah, and you still need the same amount of planning. There's just the one thing I do love about digital is that you can make those broad changes on the fly and see how they're going to look and get an immediate um, preview, essentially. Um, so, you know, with traditional stuff, you kind of got to do a little more legwork. You got to mess around with color studies, and you know, Ray does a lot of color studies, and I'm sure, I'm not speaking out of turn here, hopefully, but that I bet he finds that it helps him mentally catalog what colors he's going to mix when he's doing the big one, because he's
totally,
messing around with all those little colors in a small way, which is a lot more manageable than in a big way.
totally, yeah, absolutely. And you know, I used to do them religiously all the time to just to plan out all my colors, to plan out like detail, where am I going to push and pull things, um, and and now I do them for the same reason. But I was just thinking about this today. You know, I think it's something that was kind of born out of digital painting, where I would take you know, I would basically build my piece like Tyler's doing right now, or like I did with the Nichelle Nichols piece, or actually what I'm doing right now and I would do everything monochromatically and push my drawing as hard as I could. And that was the great thing about digital painting, is I could zoom in and really refine something. And I really learned a lot about drawing at that point, because I didn't have to pay a heavy penalty for any of my for making a mistake, as I would have in traditional artwork. So I think crap, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
Well, it's that forgiveness. I mean, it seems like you're talking about the forgiving nature of digital allows you to make bigger risks.
Right. And so
you can get so much more out of it, than you could with just like experimenting with a drawing or a small color study. Like you could do some major changes.
Exactly. And so when I came back out of, when I was doing color studies traditionally, I thought, oh man, this is my time. I can actually glaze in a whole bunch of colors and see what looks like the colors I might want to use. And I can do that digitally. And so my color studies became kind of an color under painting for my finished painting. And it allowed me to say, okay, how do I make it even better? And so when I transitioned back into traditional pieces, I found out that I wasn't as patient about the medium, of oil paint, like in terms of drying times and things like that. So I started to substitute things. And this is just go back to the engineering part, to try and mimic, the speed at which I was thinking digitally. And that's why I started to experiment with gouache, with acrylics, airbrush, how do I get something down pretty quickly? And so I can then get to that finished part where I'm, really putting in my final pieces, and how do I refine and iterate at a faster rate than I did before. So.
I got another question that's related from the chat, from Chappie McChapman. And this is for both of you. Do you have the same feeling of satisfaction upon completion of a traditional painting versus a digital painting?
Good
yeah,
question.
I mean, I'd say they're the same. I feel like, I don't know, maybe there's a smidge more personal satisfaction in the actual oil painting, because I now know I have this artifact that exists in real life. That I really like. So yeah, I'd say it's a little bit more satisfaction for me.
Yeah, I mean, and when I would finish something digitally, the cool thing about it is that you can actually see it done and in its final form and share it. And that was really cool with that. That was a cool thing about that. And I could iterate on the finish even more. And so I was, I don't know, maybe I was just as excited, if I really did a nice digital painting, man, it was just no better feeling, and the same thing goes traditionally as well. Yeah, I like the art, the artifact, I think is an important thing. But I don't know, maybe that might just be a hang up from, Tyler and I's like upbringing, to put it, for lack of a better word. I don't know. Do you think people have as much of that hang up as kind of like our teachers did, because they would say, you don't have an original, but especially with delivery methods today being what they are.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen people still today, in professionals that are less interested in a, print, so to speak. That they really do care about it, whether it's original or not. But I don't really. I mean, no offense to people that really care about an original painting. I don't care how you get to the final, as long as it's a really cool piece. So, I mean, I think we've talked about this so many times. So I do personally enjoy making an artifact, but I don't really care otherwise, other than my own personal, like, oh man, I love that I painted that actual painting.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's Man, I think about that a lot. Actually, that's a great question. It really was because I mean that's how I make a living. You know, it's a large part of my how I make a living is selling originals, and so I think about that quite a bit. I think for me, and just to piggyback on what Tyler said, the reason why it's probably not as at all that much of a difference is because the real fun and the real joy was the act of making it, if that makes any sense,
Hmm.
and so when I'm done with the piece, um, I'm usually with traditional paintings, I'm usually not, or with a piece in general, maybe I'm usually not satisfied. I usually hate it at first, and then I warm up to it a little bit later. Um,
Oh, dude, I hate
and
everything right when I'm done with it.
yeah,
All of them, 100% of them.
yeah, that's a better way of putting it. Then, yeah, I absolutely think they're just. It's not like they're horrible. It's more if it was a bad painting, okay, uh, but I think of it as like a wow, I fell so short on my original idea, and well, there goes that. I don't know how to fix it. I can't just be better. I'd have to redo it if that were the case. Dang it.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like more of a feeling of regret and disappointment. Uh,
I see that, and but I mean, there's the factor of like, oh, this wasn't what I really wanted it to be. But I also chalk it up to eye fatigue. Like I've been looking at it for too
totally,
long, so I can't really see it anymore. All I see
100%.
are the things, and you're working on a piece for a really long time, and your brain gets into the mode of correcting, and so then your brain kind of gets stuck in that when you get to the end of the piece, and that you're just in correction mode. So everything you see needs to be corrected, whether it needs to be or not. So you're just like, I don't know, you're eye fatigue. You need to give it a rest and let your
Yeah,
brain rest on a piece.
right.
Because
And
I've found if I leave it, I'll come back and it's great. Go ahead, good.
no, yeah, no, that's a great point that I'm glad that you ended on that because I think that's the thing with digital painting. I know I can make a sweeping change if I want to. And there's some times that I've actually ruined a piece.
Right.
Not ruined it a piece, but like took it to another iteration that just ended up being like, well, that sucked. I'm just going to keep the original of what I had.
Yeah.
And it usually comes from me returning back the day after or a couple of hours after and reassessing it.
Yeah. And that's so easy to get into that trap of like, oh, this piece is completely screwed. I screwed it.
Yeah.
But then you give it a rest, check it out later, get fresh eyes on it, and you're usually going to feel different.
I have another
If anyone
great
out there is
question.
struggling with this,
Yeah,
yeah,
another
go
good
ahead.
good question. This is sort of related to an earlier topic. When you submit a physical painting, I assume this is for you, Tyler, submitting it to like Magic, for instance. How is it digitized? Do you get any say on the lighting of that painting, and can you sign it?
Okay, so great. There's a Let me try and answer this in phases because those are all super good points. There was a time in when Magic took originals. They still do, but they don't really. There's like maybe 2 or 3 people that still send in original paintings.
Wow. There are
Um,
actual people that still do.
yeah, there's still people who
Wow.
do, but most everyone else just photographs it themselves. So the people that send in those paintings, we're letting wizards photograph the painting for them. And so I mean, I don't know how that process worked. I don't know if wizards sent them a digital proof so that they could say, no, can you adjust this or that? Um, I don't know how, I can't speak to that, but the way I do it is I photograph the piece. So there's a lot of different things we can talk about when it comes to photographing your piece.
This is a pain in the ass. It used
It's
to
a
be, at
huge
least.
pain. Now I've streamlined it. Ray has streamlined his significantly as well, I think. And
Yeah, to put it lightly.
so I'm okay. I think I'm veering off of the point of this question, but I photograph it, I make all the corrections, I make all the adjustments so that the digital file looks as close as possible to my painting. And I do that all in Photoshop. So how I do that is I shoot everything in the raw, and now I use polarizing film and a circular polarizer over my lens, which you can kind of see here. I don't know if it's big enough to see, but all of that cuts out all the glare, which has been a huge help because it's always been something I've fought is glare, and now I don't really have to worry about that. But anyways, yeah, the short answer is I make all of those choices because I photograph the piece.
And the second part was, are you allowed to sign it? That's something.
Oh yeah, sorry. Magic prefers that you don't send in imagery with a signature on it because they kind of want a clean art frame. And on Magic, for Magic specifically, you are credited at the bottom of the card anyways.
Right.
There's a little paintbrush symbol and then the name of the artist who painted the art in the art frame. So in those cases, I actually do sign the painting before I submit it, and then I just use the Band-Aid tool in Photoshop to erase that signature so that it's not in the final file that I send to them. But that just saves me remembering to grab the painting out of my little drawing area and remember to put my signature on it before I varnish it. If I just make sure I sign it on that last day where I feel like the painting's done, then it's signed and you can just use Photoshop to erase it.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nice, dude.
Nice,
dude.
So now I've kind of blocked in my mid-tone and my shadows, and I think they're in a fairly accurate place.
That looks great.
So I think I will kind of get in that in between the mid-tone, like where you're starting to get to the light but not the specular. I think I'll get those spots in, and then I'll come back in with sort of a brush that doesn't have anything but medium on it and start pushing some paint around a little bit more.
So what does that get you? A brush that only has medium on it? Sorry, what does that mean for you? What does that do?
So what I'm trying to do is, so what I have up here is a whole bunch of wet paint, and a brush without any medium on it is just a brush that has no color in it. This brush, as you can see, has paint on it. So if I get one that has nothing on it whatsoever, like this, and I put a little bit of medium on this brush, which my medium right now is just linseed oil, which is just transparent. That way the brush is just a little bit wet and it will be able to push the paint around and blend the edges, which is what I want to do. What my whole goal here is to control all the edges and transition. So, on the bridge of his nose, I'm going to have a soft transition into the shadow, and then the shadow that it casts is going to be really hard. So what I'm going to do with this brush that just has medium in it is correct all my edges. And it kind of goes back to that sfumato concept that Ray and I were talking about in, I don't know, episode 2 or 1 or something, where I want to blur, yeah, it might have been 0. I want to blur as much of the edges as possible so that I can control it the way I want. So it's all about edge control.
I am the controller of edges. Me.
I control it.
I think if we had like a drinking game based on this live stream, it's all about edge control would be one of the things to drink. I swear I've heard you say that. That's like probably the second most frequent thing I hear you say, Tyler. And the first most frequent thing is there's an episode of Next Generation about this.
So, well, I don't need to go reference the TNG episodes, but I will. But should I dig into this concept of edge control? Do people in the chat understand what that is?
Go for it, man. Like I said, just rattle on.
I'm doing it. I'm going, Ray. I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, your bearded doppelganger just avoided the question out of fear. So,
edge control is essentially what mark making is. It's how you approach edges, right, Ray? Would you agree with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
The way you figure out how you control the edge of things and create the form of something through that control ends up being your mark making. Like we keep talking about Drew Struzan, the way he dealt with edges and transitions, where he had he kind of has, if you look really closely at his drawing, when he's doing a cast shadow on something, he uses a nice straight line. And if he's doing a transitional shadow, he uses all these little squiggly lines. It's not too dissimilar to how David Grove draws as well. That's how he's using drawing to control his edges in that scenario. I'm going to be using paint, and the way I'll be doing that is like I just talked about, how I'm going to use wet transitions.
Otherwise known as magic.
Black magic.
Black magic. Yeah, so edge is a way you can, so again, we're always, leads into basically what we're talking about, the principle of producing the illusion of 3 dimensions on a 2-dimensional surface. And so edge control is what allows you to have, or fake depth. And if you look at, just think about like a camera, you know, where you have things that are out of focus, things that aren't in focus. That's one aspect of edges. Another aspect of edges is showing a roundness of a form. Because in light, you know, if you look at my, let's just say my hand here, right, you can see my fist there's a dark part right here, right? And you'll see this really soft edge of this shadow right here, and that's called a form shadow. And you would want to capture that edge and make it soft when you would draw it, and that describes basically the form turning away from the light and going into the shadow side of the form, which is what that this really weird shape is, this sort of abstract shape. And so when we talked about the lunar lander thing, that's, you know, it's an abstract shape on Tyler's Grand Moff Tarkin. So you want to look for those abstract shapes. Now, there's a part of the shadow that is that will intercept the light, right? And that's a result. I'm sorry. There's a part of the shadow that's a result of intercepting the light. And when that happens, it'll cast a shadow onto a surface. So you see my brush tip right here, right? If I put this closely, my brush is casting a shadow onto the surface. And you'll see it's a much more sort of rigid, sharper shape, sharper edge, I should say. And that's called a cast shadow. So you have 2 types of shadows: form and then cast shadow.
Right.
So
and in direct
edge,
light, your cast shadows are hard. Yeah. Soft edge or hard edge. This is something that got drilled into Ray and I's brain so hard in school. It's like anytime we were drawing anything, it was soft edge, hard edge, soft edge, hard edge.
Form shadow soft, cast shadow hard. Form shadow soft, cast shadow hard.
So if you're messing around with trying to make something look realistic, or the illusion of form, say that in your head. Form shadows. So soft, form shadows, hard, cast shadows. Say that over and over and over again, and do it on everything. And you end up getting very rounded, beautiful forms.
Do it in your notebook. Do it on your cereal box. Do it on your mom's kitchen.
Totally what we did though, right? Like we had sketchbooks just full of like basically drawing what looked like a wavy surface, right? That cast shadows. It was like a whole bunch of waves in fabric. And in fabric, just painting fabric's a great way to practice this. But
we were very interesting when we were younger. We were very interesting, folks.
Some would argue you're still very interesting now. Hey, I have a question from the chat from Aaron Rufino. What's up, Aaron Rufino? Do you guys prefer to use a certain brush type when working on edge control, like a filbert or a round brush?
Ray, do you got a preference?
Not really. I will use a certain brush if I want like to make a certain shape, but not necessarily an edge. I usually use it, though I will say that I tend to use the side of my brush when I want a soft edge, and the tip of my brush when I want a harder edge. And I'm usually using rounds. Yeah, and with like, if you're using something like a filbert or a flat, I would actually, I think I would end up doing the same thing as well, using the side of the brush. I tend to use it like this. So side, here, there we go. Side, hold it like that, and then usually like this, you'll see me make like a cast shadow shape in almost like a linear snap way. So yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I think I go a little different. I love flats, and
I love flat.
I love flat. Tyler love flat. That's it. That's all I have to say. No, I love flat brushes. I use filberts as well, but I like to paint like the plane changes, all the plane shifts in a face. And with flat brushes, like this one is flat, you can see, if I bring it closer to the camera here, it's this flat shape. So it has this like almost knife edge to the front, which I can use to get really hard edges. And then I can use the whole flat form to just block in big shapes, big plane shifts. So like here, like on the top of his head, that this is like a plane. This is a top plane, but then this is front. So I'll use that to create these like square shapes everywhere. It's just kind of like how I like to block in stuff. But fool around with different shapes, see what feels good to you. If I'm doing something more finessey or more fluid, less blocky, I will use a filbert, which is, and if you don't know what a filbert is, everyone else, this is what a filbert is. It's sort of rounded. You can see still that knife edge, but it's rounded on the edges as opposed to a flat, which is square.
It's like the greaser version of a flat.
Yeah, it's greasy.
But we both started with filberts, right? I mean, that's how when we first started. I mean, that's all we painted with in school, at least in classes. That's what it's like. Everyone painted with filberts, and I came to loving rounds when one of my teachers, Jeannie Brunick, was like, "Why doesn't anyone paint with rounds?" And I'm like, "Oh," and I was like, "That's a good question. I don't know. I just ended up painting with filberts because that's what everybody painted with." So
yeah, it's all about how you. I mean, there's nothing really fancy about this brushes, right? It's how you want to apply marks. I just love this, like using chunky stuff with a flat. So
Tyler, would you say it was essentially about edges?
There's a Star Trek episode about it. There is, though. There probably is. I mean,
yeah. City on the Edge of Tomorrow.
That.
City on the Edge of Tomorrow.
Chappie McChapman in the chat has suggested for your consideration, but perhaps a future portrait could be done of Q. Just a thought.
Ooh,
Heck yeah. Okay. And here's the thing. I do have to apologize to everyone and their expectations, but I'd love to do a Q painting. But we had begun with just 80s paintings, which is why we did Nichelle Nichols from Star Trek 2.
Right.
Now, Grand Moff Tarkin is from Star Wars in 70s.
Yeah, but it's 77 though, Tyler.
We talked about this. Like the 80s movie,
exactly.
The genre of 80s movies extends from like 1977 to like 1992. It starts with Star Wars and it ends with Terminator 2. That's the 80s.
We discussed
and those are the markers.
Right. You're calmer. You're calmer, more level-headed. A version of yourself from last episode understood this. So I don't understand why you're on an apology tour now.
I wasn't apologizing. You guys jumped in and
you said I have to apologize.
Oh, okay, yeah. Never mind. I did apologize. I apologize for my apology. So yeah, I'm just sculpting here now. I'm going to use this flat to kind of chisel in all the shifts that I want to work with. And I will start messing with edges here in a minute once I've kind of laid the foundation.
Yeah, so press F in the chat for edge control.
Sfumato.
We should do Livebrush bingo. What do you think?
I think so.
We should totally do Livebrush bingo.
I feel like we should also try to pronounce things in Italian accents, and because I've alienated Scotland, so I might as well
sneak in
Italy while I'm at it.
Well, you go ahead and do that, sir, who has a striking resemblance to my good friend Tyler.
Yeah, he's no longer with us.
No one's ever really gone. Oh no, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. Oh man, you know, I was just thinking about this. This Tarkin painting. I mean, I'm painting around. You obviously probably are. This might have been a bit of a surprise to you. This white that I put here all of a sudden made this look way darker. And I'm putting in my lightest of lights right here. But
I'm surprised. I didn't want to say
anything. So I'm basically throwing in all of my larger shapes now and just running this as a painting. Now, the reason why I'm approaching this as a painting and I didn't kind of finish it off with the lift out is because it's not the way I had designed it. My piece actually has two different light sources, which is it's going to give us an opportunity to talk about when this is all laid in. One is coming from this left-hand side right here. And then the other one is coming from the right-hand side and hitting the Grand Moff Tarkin sort of face. And this is basically it's represented by these I love these. Oops. Sorry.
There it is. Now you done it. Now you got it.
Now I done it. Sorry.
All right, it's fine. It's all right. It's all right. We're back.
We're back. Stupid.
We're live.
I didn't even say anything.
This stream brought to you by Apple Music.
Yeah, I know, right? So what was I trying to say? Oh yeah. So when you are putting in two different light sources, you have to kind of design for that. And so I need to put everything in. I'm putting everything in opaquely because of that. Could I have done that, in a wash? Yeah, I could have taken my wash and done it in two colors. One representing one light source and the other one representing the other one. But it's very complicated to do that, and it takes a lot of planning. And I didn't have enough time basically to plan it, but I could have pulled it off maybe. But now I'm establishing those light sources right now by blocking in these larger colors. So I thought I'd just emphasize that just to show you, because I got a really fun Tarkin image planned here. I'm so excited for this. He's such a it was something Tyler and I love. Can we plug other YouTube? I guess we could.
Yes,
right?
It's your fucking show, Ray. You can do whatever you want.
That's true. I don't know how this version of Tyler is. I'm speaking to the last bit of beard left in Tyler's face, but Tyler and I both love actually Tyler got me into them, a channel on YouTube called Red Letter Media. And they do these excellent, movie reviews. And, they're really intelligent and thoughtful, and they're really funny. And I don't always
kind of like grumpy old men too when it comes to movies.
They totally are, yeah. And sometimes I don't agree with them, but I always appreciate their opinions on things. And so one way they describe old school Star Wars Galactic Empire was these were these kind of sort of men without any emotion, who were just kind of who could care less, really thought of the Rebel Alliance as less than human. So they were just basically exterminating them like you would an exterminator. And they really they didn't put any emotion into their job. They just sort of did it, and there's this point in A New Hope that I really love that, Grand Moff Tarkin is he's a very reserved person. He's the quintessential type of galactic Navy officer, right? It's really not much of a range of emotions. It's more sort of snobbish, but very reserved. And only when things are going all out or just ending is when they sort of lose their cool. But I remember Tarkin being just absolutely really much silent and just listening and making a decision. That was it. And there was this point where he's talking to Leia early on where he like raises his finger, and it's like it commanded the room, because he would never do that unless he absolutely felt it was necessary. And I thought, man, what a scary person, and I was like, that's Grand Moff Tarkin to me. It's like this like person who you don't really know. He's so cold and calculated, basically, and he just sort of is this get the job done type of person. And I forget about the ethics.
That's actually, I pulled my frame from that same moment. It's right after he's like, "Dude, would you prefer another target, a military target?" And he's like yelling at Leia, and then the camera hits his face right here at this moment. And it's like his neck is still strained just a little bit, like he's calming his whole body down. I mean, Peter Cushing, what an amazing actor.
Totally.
You've talked about this before, Tyler, that you like to paint people in like the moment before, the moment after they're acting, right?
Yeah, well, okay, so I love this concept, and it's something I try and use all the time. It actually comes from this incredible sculptor from the Renaissance, Bernini. I'm sure everyone knows Bernini. But one thing he said is that the moment when you can see, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, it's an exact quote, the moment you can see someone's like trueness or their soul, I guess, or the essence of their character is right before they're about to speak or right after they spoke.
Yeah.
And Bernini would always sculpt his portraits. A lot of his portraits are like the mouth is just a little bit open, just a tiny bit open. And he felt like that moment gave you a better view as to who that person was. So I love to do that in my illustration work, I don't do it all the time, but I will occasionally play back into that idea, which I love.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. And I pretty much have like all of my paintings at least my gallery paintings and my illustrations were kind of predicated on that principle, because it's used. That was something that we were introduced to, and I think in school too, right? I mean, because it was echoed by so many people.
Where I heard it.
I know NC Wyeth would say it, like, don't say the action, don't show the action, show either right before or right after. But it's just been used, I think Bernini was famous for that, and it was just used, throughout art in such an effective fashion. Definitely after that, just the gravitas of that.
It's something I've brought up a lot when it's come, my various interactions, I guess, with art direction for illustration, either talking with art directors or helping art directors kind of put together best practice documents. And that is another thing that comes through, at least in illustration, is like the best moment is either during, so there's 3 moments, right, you can play with. It's during the action, like you're trying to depict, like the moment in action, right before that moment or right after that moment. And depending on how you want to manipulate the audience, like that's a terrible term to use, manipulate the audience, but depending on what you want to depict or what you want the audience to see.
To feel, yeah.
Yeah, what you want them to feel, you pick those moments. So, if you want anticipation, it's always great to use that moment before something's happening, like right as it's about to happen. If you want like maximum action, usually go right in the midst of it, like right when it's happening. And then if you want more of like relief or I guess mystery, like as to what just occurred, have it right after what happened. And playing with those dials or moments are a really great way to mess with the emotion of an illustration.
And even like in action, like if you look at a Frank Frazetta painting, you see a lot of like that same that idea, that principle played out time and time again. It's like right before or right after, like Conan the Destroyer. I remember it, like he's just about to like take this dude's head off, but you could see it, those little moments built in, different parts of those little moments built in throughout the piece itself. Like, the destroyers, like you could see, Conan about to kill someone. Conan had just slashed somebody, and it's just sprinkled throughout. You could see his vanquished foes and the people that he's about to take out. That's what I loved about that. Like the Fighting Man of Mars. You remember that one where they're taking away the women and like, oh, it's so awesome. It's like
I thought it was so good at playing with those moments.
So good at that. Did you lose me again? Oh no. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Sorry about that, Kate.
Sorry, everybody. Ray just
That's my fault.
Up. It's all right.
Yeah,
it's
thanks
okay.
a lot, Ray. Jesus.
Thanks
Christ.
a lot, Ray.
I'm sorry. Oh
boy, howdy. All right, I'm gonna stop. Tyler.
This kind of stuff happens. Yeah, just let me know when you need me to hit the button.
Hang on. I'm gonna do a BRB. Hold on. Here we
go.
BRB. Oh, well, BRB is not working either. That's cool. That's cool. Graphics and overlays. Let's get the BRB going. Nice. Okay. All right. That'll show them. Okay, so let me stop all your videos. For this one, I need Ray's camera. This should be your face, Ray. Is that right? That I'm requesting? Okay. And then next, I need Tyler's painting. Tyler, I think, is this your painting? Okay. And then next, I need Ray's painting. So, oh, nope, let's not do that. Next, I need Tyler's camera. Ask to start video. Okay, go ahead there, Tyler, on your face. Excellent, excellent. And then Ray's painting. Getting in there. All right. Done.
Sorry about that shit.
And
Sorry.
we're back.
Back.
That's on my, should have never shaved, Tyler.
It's definitely
Throw me
Tyler's
off.
fault.
It's my fault. I get it.
Press F in the chat if you think it was Tyler's fault.
I'm pressing F for sure.
I take full responsibility. Ray was about to try and take responsibility, but I'll do it.
I was about to reveal the secrets of painting, and Tyler stopped me.
Oh yeah, that's our usual joke too.
And
we got to use that.
That's all you need to do to be a master painter.
Yeah.
I just showed, I showed a quick graphic, and then that was right before I could. The whole stream got garbled and cut off the image. It's just out of camera.
So I think, what do you think, Ray? Do you think next week I should just start colorizing this one?
Dude, you can do whatever you want, man.
Well, I'm asking you. What do you think?
I think, yeah, you can.
I will.
You didn't even let me finish.
No, I will. It's too late. I'll do it.
Chat, you see what I have to deal with?
Yeah, I'll do it. I don't need to listen. I don't need to hear your response. We're good.
The other Tyler would have waited for my response because
I know. Well, this is a new Tyler.
They, respect my opinion, and
they did.
Yeah.
Ray, it's become kind of a joke in the chat that you don't know what press F means, and so that's been nominated as an emote we should put together once we get affiliate.
Oh, perfect.
Nice.
And he doesn't, so, to be honest.
We just dropping truth bombs all day today, folks. Welcome to the Sunday. Sundays ain't for no pleasantries, okay?
Yeah.
No fun day Sunday.
No fun day Sunday.
All right, we're starting to get here. I think I got accurate depiction somewhat. I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you how to paint.
I don't know. I'm not going to tell you. You do whatever you want.
You know, I am gonna hit a little bit of color in here.
You should. So we're doing limited color. The whole point of us doing this was to show everyone out there that really color doesn't matter. And you could put all these fancy colors that you want, but it really doesn't matter. It's all about the value. And this is basically going to be, you could have the same impactful, an incredibly impactful image with little to no color. And, that's what we're attempting. I know I'm attempting to do that with my painting.
100%. And it's not unlike old black and white movies and stuff. There's such an incredible impact of just black and white.
You think Star Wars would have worked? I think Star Wars would have worked well as a black and white film.
The chrome edition. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
That's actually it's hopefully my finished image kind of feels like a noir version of it. We'll see.
I think it will with that backlighting you have going on. Totally will.
Look at that, a vote of confidence.
If you wanted to, don't screw it up.
And a backhanded vote of confidence.
We had this in school. One of our teachers, Bill Mon, would always come by. He'd be doing something pretty good, and he'd be like, "Oh, that looks great." Then he'd lean in real close and go, "Don't screw it up."
And he'd walk away.
And then he'd just walk off.
He didn't care. He'd go eat like pretzels or something like that.
Yeah.
And leave us with the shards of our ego and self-confidence. Bill was great. Bill still is great.
Still is great.
We talk about him all the time. So, So shout out to Bill. Press F in the chat for Bill Mon.
Oh my God. Yes.
It could be whatever I want it to be, Tyler.
You do you, man. I'm not going to stop you.
It's all about edges.
This is a Star Trek episode about it.
As you would say.
All right, I got to the point. This happens to me a lot, everybody, while I'm painting. This is how my left hand ends up being. I don't know if anyone can see that. This happens to me a lot. And then I'm like kind of trapped. I feel like I'm hanging at the end of a rope off a mountain cliff. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I put him down?
Just one more brush. And I know I can get it this time.
So don't do that, ladies and gentlemen.
Just one more brush.
And I don't have a proper brush holder on my right side, so now I just have a pile of brushes.
Apparently in the chat, both Kazimov and Jay Madalena have called it Wolverbrush or the Wolverines.
Yes, that's perfect. I will, if you guys don't mind, use that.
Tyler Wolverbrush. That's what we'll call you now. This new this new evolution of you.
This new version of my hair.
Tyler Jacobson evolves into Tyler Wolverbrush.
Well, like I said at the beginning of the stream, I hate it, and I will be growing the beard back.
It's a Pokemon reference that Tyler didn't catch, but okay.
No, I don't know the Pokemons. I should. But I don't know.
Hey, I've never played Pokemon, but I know I'm dialed in.
You are
to late 90s pop culture.
You
still big.
Dialed in. Still big.
I think that could be a fun game to play on the stream. Tyler, the game you've told me about with Pokemon, especially since Ray knows what they look like. Okay, so you tell the rules of the game.
Okay, this is one of my favorite games. It was introduced to me by a good friend of mine, Christine Choi, and she, devised this. I don't know if she devised this game. She probably didn't come up with it. Anyways, she told us how to play it. And what it is someone who knows Pokemon in a group of people, usually a group of artists, will someone who knows the Pokemon will look up a Pokemon, and you can do this with people who don't know anything about Pokemon. But you want to have all the artists in the room, or anybody, not know anything about Pokemon. So someone will look up a Pokemon and describe what they see without anyone in the room seeing that Pokemon. And so you draw while they're talking, and you get about a minute or so, and then everyone shows what they created, because Pokemon are just so crazy looking. And
oh my God,
that is the game. That's the game. That's all you have to do. And it's super fun.
Wow. We should maybe we should do that for like Livebrush late night edition.
I think so.
Yeah, Livebrush nights.
Livebrush secrets.
Oh man. That was a favorite sketch of mine from way back.
Conan O'Brien.
Conan O'Brien. They're impossible to find, man. The mighty clutches of NBC will not allow them to be anywhere on the internet.
You're right.
So he's got like a rim light on the light side of his face, which I am not a fan of. So I think I'm not going to use that rim light.
Yeah, we got a different reference. No, we have the same reference.
Oh, the face shot. Yeah.
I'm going to change the lighting.
See how he's got that rim light on the side of his face that's already lit? It kind of flattens him out. You guys can't see my reference, but there's like a bright rim light out here. I'm like gesticulating towards
Chad,
it.
I can't even see his reference. Okay.
No one could see it. Okay, but on this side of his face, there's a rim light from the film, and that really flattens him out. So I'm probably just going to keep the rim light that he has on the dark side, which is always a better place to have rim light. So
why is
take
that?
Whoever the DP was.
Wow, really sticking it to him. Why is it better to have a rim light on the darker side, do you think? Just more contrast?
It creates more contrast. It also gives suggests the roundness of the form a little better. When it's on the light side, it really flattens the form out. It gives it that really hard edge, which you would see on a flat square. You get a really bright all the way up to the edge. So by having a rim light on this side that I'm pointing to here, it's just going to flatten the whole face out. So I'm just going to avoid it, and I'm going to round all these into darkness, all these edges into darkness.
Yeah, I'm going to have a rim light on the shadow side. Yeah, I just realized that.
There's kind of, at least in my reference, there's a little bit of one. It's very backlit.
Yeah.
And I'll use that one.
Yeah, I planned all this stuff out. And I'm like, that I did like 2 days ago. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I was doing.
When plans fail.
Or when you don't realize that you actually set up this thing, because like I'm looking at my edited reference that I put together, so I have no idea. So when I adjust my references, I throw everything that I want to be in the final painting. So the color that reference that I started with is completely gone, and the only colors are the ones that I want to be there. So it's a. I know you can't
my
see
reference
it.
is black and white as well.
Yeah. And it's helpful when
add
you're
in
doing
colors that aren't there.
Yeah, you could do it on the fly like Tyler's going to do, which I don't know if I was ever good at. I guess I could do certain things on the fly, but I'm very visual, so I need to see it. I just don't have that vision to look through all that stuff. It's probably because I don't do it enough. Who knows? But it doesn't matter. Whatever helps you visualize and get to the end product is what the point of it is,
Yeah, it's all practice in the end, right?
Yeah. And also just understanding how you work, right? I think that's something like Tyler and I watched. We're very fortunate enough to watch and talk to one of our artist heroes, Thomas Blackshear, who I mentioned before about this gouache lift out. And he was very much of that, like of that attitude. It's like whatever I need to get to do to get an image, to make a powerful image, I will do it. And really cool stuff. It
Yeah, it's
really
all about
struck a chord.
making like he was saying the whole time we were chatting with him, like it's all about just getting that impact. It doesn't matter. Anything else doesn't matter. Like how you got there, what reference you used, doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's so good.
That was a real treat. I guess to fill everyone in, we got Thomas Blackshear, one of Ray and I's absolute favorite artists. We've mentioned him a bunch of times. He got to do a demo and a chat for John English's Illustration Academy. And it was all, on Skype, or I guess it was on Zoom.
Yeah.
And he chatted for a while about all of his history of illustration. He's just an absolute master. And then he did a little demo with it, and he's never really worked in oils, but he started working in oils. And like Ray and I kept messaging each other during this demo, and we're like, of course, he just kind of like figured out how to do oils.
Yeah,
in like 5 seconds.
He's worked in oils, but the demos that he had were working using a process or a method that he had just learned a month ago, right? And you just get, and to do that live too in front of everyone and pull it off flawlessly is like incredible. And I was messaging Tyler saying like, of course out of all the things he's going to show us is and he did 2 paintings, and both of them were like things that he just picked up, Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God,
Do you guys know if that talk was recorded anywhere?
No, and it was like a private talk. Unfortunately, I wish it was, but he does have videos online though, video demos that you can purchase and watch. So that's why we were super fortunate, because we were invited to be there, as participating, I guess, color commentators, right? I mean,
we were chatting the whole time.
Yeah.
Anytime Thomas took a break, we would start chatting, and then.
Wow, it was like the Masters, right? It's like, wow, what a riveting, and like I'm gonna get really close to my mic. It was like, what a riveting display of artistry from Thomas in this round. Tyler, what do you think?
I will agree. The way he placed his marks on the canvas were truly inspiring.
It's like just
devastating, actually.
Just breathtaking. And just like,
I think he probably heard us the whole time too, and he's like, "Who
the
hell are these jokers?"
He did, and I didn't think he did, And it wasn't until he came back and goes, "Yeah, what I want to speak on what one of you guys were saying, talking about having, developing your eye," and I was like, "Oh my God, oh shit, he heard us the whole time."
Yeah, oh, he's listening. I hope we said something interesting.
I know we were fanboying pretty hard, folks. So we're still. Isn't that cool though? It
was a hell of a weekend.
It was a hell of a weekend.
I was Kate kept giving me crap because I was just getting ready in the morning, but she kept coming in and be like, "Oh, you brushing your teeth and doing your hair for Tom? Are you brushing out your beard for Thomas Blackshear?"
No, it's because you put on real pants, you put your contacts in, and you put like a nice button-up shirt on. It was like
because I didn't know if I was gonna be on camera.
Yeah. It was adorable.
Tyler, you did prep yourself, premium prep. I put on a shirt,
folks.
I put on a shirt, and that was clean, and put on pants too. Like not non-gym shorts. And About time, yeah. So it was Thomas Blackshear.
Jay Madalena in the chat is asking. She said, was this IMC? What was the organization?
Yeah, so it's great question. No, it was Illustration Academy, or some people call their online school is also called Visual Arts Passage. They've got a great stream that they offer Thursday called Illustration Isolation that I encourage everyone to take a look at. They have video on demand available on their website as well. It's getting to see. I've been fortunate enough to be invited to come paint with them and work alongside. But you have all these people, all these incredible artists that Tyler and I just grew up like idolizing, like on there just for free, working. Black Shoe was not on there, but so it wasn't IMC. It was Illustration Academy / Visual Arts Passage. So.
But who else is? I mean, who are the other names that kind of show up in that? Like Ted does stuff in there too, right?
Yeah, CF Payne, George Pratt, John Foster.
Oh, great. Yeah, nice lineup.
Edward Kinsella, Audrey Benjaminson, Vanessa Del Rey Audrey Benjaminson's sick. Vanessa Del Rey has done tons of stuff for it. I think she did I don't know if she's still on Black Widow. Marvel DC artist, incredible.
I think so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Bill Coe. Then there's John as well, and yeah, it's pretty sweet. So but IMC actually also has an actual online school called Smart School, Smarter Art School, basically. So it's Smart, SMART, capital ART School.
Well, and you're going to be doing stuff with them, right?
Yeah. So I'm currently, enrollment's open actually.
Awesome.
For a class, if you'd like to learn how to do color. I'm teaching a intro to light and color in oil paints, or how to fill your oil paintings with like light and color. It's not really an intro course. It's just a course, but if you're just beginning or you're advanced, the course is for all of it because it's an online mentorship, which is pretty cool. So you get a lot of like hands-on stuff with artists, and that's another great school. Like, I mean, Greg Manchus, one of our heroes, another art hero. He teaches there. Donato Giacola, Sam Weber, Rebecca Gay. Just unstoppable artists. So yeah, a lot of good stuff. Amazing lineup, and just it's a good time to study art. And which is pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
this sort of we're all trapped. It's a great time to just. We keep talking about brush mileage on all these episodes.
Yeah.
We're all trapped inside. It's a great time to get that brush mileage.
Yeah, seriously. And you could take these the great thing about these courses, I mean, it's just, I'm not, in all seriousness, I'm not talking about this to plug my class. I mean, go take a class with like.
Plug it, man.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like the opportunity to study with people like Greg Manchus,
Yeah.
or
Totally.
Scott Fisher, or, Rebecca Gay, Audrey Benderson.
John Foster's doing stuff with that?
Yeah, man.
More with,
yeah.
Oh, he is. Okay, cool.
No, not with Smart School, not with IMC, but he's with Visual Arts Passage, though. And he's, man.
Yeah.
He's insane. He's another one like, oh my God. What an incredible painter. Just an incredible artist, Foster, Foster, if you're interested. I mean, we're saying these names, and I want to make sure I credit as many awesome artists as possible. But I also realize that phonetically spelling some of these names out might be next to impossible. So if anybody needs a spell check on it, I will. You can ask me, and then take the spelling that I say and plug it into Google, and Google that, because it's probably wrong. It's most likely wrong, but it'll get you closer to the actual spelling.
I can't spell anything.
It'll get you where you need to get to. It'll get you where you're going.
You get close enough. That's all.
Yeah. Hey, Kate, how are we doing on time?
You've got about 20 minutes left.
Sweet.
Oh wow, this went fast. I don't really have much to say about what I'm doing. I'm still kind of just doing the same thing I'd set up. I am just slowly building in the forms here. But I actually you guys were watching, I did knock in just a little bit of color. I warmed up my colors just a little bit in the ear, which I love doing the subsurface scattering that'll come through when an ear is backlit. So I've kind of warmed that up a little bit, and I've added in just a little bit of alizarin crimson in like the mouth, the nose area, and right near the eye. Just where the skin gets kind of thin, you get that a little more blood flow through it. There's a term for it that I'm blanking on at the moment.
Subsurface scattering is another drinking game phrase for Tyler Jacobson.
Yeah, you say that all the time.
The boy loved to scatter.
I love it. I love the sub scatter.
The sub scatter.
Well, I didn't even get to the eyes on this one. Maybe that's what I'll do in the last, we got 20 minutes? I'll start blocking in the eyes, eye shapes.
Yeah, I'm just basically blocking in the colors here. We're getting close to putting everything in. I'm basically lightly going over this shadow side with some, building in some of that red. You can see the piece is getting a little bit darker, which is good. This is kind of a darkish piece. And it's going to make, the darker I make this stuff, the more these like lights are going to really impact. Now, the great thing, or the most important thing when you're blocking in a painting, is to try not to, especially early on, make sure that you're just sticking with your plan. And if something doesn't look finished, don't freak out. Just cover the surface, because any bare, I know just from painting, because I have a lot of painting a ton, because I have a lot of brush mileage under my belt.
Drinking game, brush mileage.
Drinking game. Is that I know that, like, okay, this doesn't look right because I just don't have my right value. And so I'll just block in the rest of this, and I won't make any finishing decisions or try and put on or correct the values around it or the colors that I'm putting down around it until I have all of my initial colors in. And I think that's a super important note to make. I think the value of the, I've gotten to this point a lot faster because the tone that I put down was pretty close to a lot of the values that I'm dealing with. So I could read the values a lot easier. And all of this tone that I put down is actually striking through onto, striking through the page. You can't, it's all optically blending, but which means that it's basically they're individual colors, but from afar, your eye just blends them together. And it gives it a nice sort of, I guess, look, But just take your time with it, like if Tyler sees how Tyler's putting in the eyes now, but he didn't put in the eyes until he had the background in, the base tone underneath, the shadows. I mean, all of these things are super, super, super important,
Yeah, and I wanted to use everything in painting to kind of pull focus. So I tried to keep everything pretty loose everywhere else, so that when I get into this little tiny details in the eyes, they'll become like big focal points. He's got those good eyes.
Yeah, and like those are the most subtle of values too. There's a very small margin of error, right? And so you need all of the values around. The more values you have down that are correct, especially the bigger the ones are, the bigger the values are, the better you could read the smaller values and the more subtle stuff. And so he needs all of that information, all of this Tyler's using all of the value information from the larger and medium-sized value shapes that he's placed down in order to correctly place the values for the eyes. Super
it's all contextual.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, I'm using the context of everything in the image to find the right values for the eyes.
That's the trick to all of this stuff, and a lot of it is just doing a lot of paintings too. I think that's I know we always say that if you've suffered through more than one of these streams, you'll hear us say you know, these things. But it's true. You know, it's like we know this because even though we were told to like block everything in, don't rush it. You know, we didn't really listen. We would go in and block everything in and rush it. You know, when
Yeah,
no
and then
one
we
was
find
looking.
out why.
Yeah, then we're like, whoop, okay, well, that was a bad idea. And we were told why it was a bad idea, you know. That was a great thing about Bill Mon. He would tell us why something didn't work out. And so you would feel extra dumb for completely violating, like you're going completely against what he had just told you. Because it didn't, you know, it would end up not working out,
Yeah.
you know, because of that reason that he had just addressed, you know, like 2 seconds before.
He was always good at sort of being like, and remember what I said? And you'd be like, yeah, I
About
did.
this?
Not sure why I disobeyed.
He knows, because we're rebels, man. And we're so rebellious. We started a live stream, telling people what to do.
Yeah.
Giving suggestions to people.
Do it this way, you guys. Well,
No,
we
you
want
know,
to, there is an aspect of this we want to pay forward the
totally.
mistakes we've made.
And also, like, something because I teach at a local university here, and it's something I used to tell students, or I like to say to students, is like, don't think of us as like teachers or anything like that. Think of me as a student from the future, warning you of what lies ahead of you stray, you know, from your path, you know. And I don't know if it works. It makes me giggle though. So
Okay, stop giggling. I have a question from Eric.
okay.
Eric Davisheim in the chat. Ray, could you talk about what led you to doing gallery work instead of illustration?
That's a great question. I think I've always liked doing personal work and just work where I didn't have an art director, that I was just self-generated. And I was always drawn to work that was done by artists who would do work based off of, like, you know, had a biographical sort of background on it, you know, like a thumbprint or fingerprint in their work. And so when I was illustrating, I would still do paintings. I would always have a painting off to the side that I was working on for myself. Because it was something that I wanted to do. And slowly but surely, the stuff that I wanted to do became, instead of illustration, before it was like half and half. Like I wanted to work half be an illustrator and half be a gallery painter. And then eventually, slowly but surely, the personal work became something that was more desirable to me. I mean, I love illustration. Don't get me wrong. I really, really, I don't have any regrets pursuing it. But I found more of an audience with gallery painting, and that's basically what led to it. You know, if it were 20 years ago, I would probably not have that. You know,
but that's a question everyone as artists have to answer for themselves. You know, what kind of work do they want to do? And Ray has answered it. And sometimes it takes you 10 years to answer your questions. Sometimes it takes, I don't know, Ray, well, how long do you think it took you to answer that question for yourself?
About 9 years, nine years. Yeah, it took a long time, you know. And I mean, I'd had successes. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'd had some successes as an illustrator. I was lucky enough to win some awards and you know, and be recognized by my peers, which was freaking awesome, you know. And but you know, it's like you have to spend a lot of time in front of the proverbial mirror, you know, and that takes a long time. And sometimes people know what they want to do out of the gate, and sometimes they don't. But you have to understand that I had to understand that me as a person, I was always going to be changing, and I had to accept that. And because I knew that as long as I was making the work that I wanted to do, I was going to find success in it. And because I think the audience knows when you're like, don't have your heart in it, you know. and when you do have your
Yeah.
heart in it, so what do you think, Tyler?
I think 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I probably landed on illustration pretty quickly, but there was a huge time where I didn't know if I wanted to actually do visual development. There was like comics were an idea. There was just a lot of trying to figure it out, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like it is like Ray said, it's really important for you to figure out what makes you happy as an artist.
Yeah, and also the markets too, they change. I mean, what was prevalent in, slowly but surely, what was prevalent in our I guess generation wasn't the markets that were available are slowly disappearing and changing, and that's the same with the generation before us and the generation before that. And so you have to constantly, your avenues for your work will constantly be changed just because the world changes. And so we love Thomas Blackshear, but his illustration that he did that we love doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And movie posters. I mean, Drew Struzan. Like if Drew Struzan was starting out today,
he wouldn't have a job.
He wouldn't have a job if he wanted to do movie posters, right? Or like it would be something niche, that he'd probably be selling like out of Instagram or like Bottle Rocket or Mondo Prints, like these one-off things.
Yeah.
So
I am glad to see that kind of stuff starting to come back. Studios
Totally.
actually wanting an original painting or just an original piece of art for a movie poster instead of a photo montage.
Yeah, we were told that it was going to come back, and that everything's cyclical, and but I'm glad that it's slowly but surely starting. It's never going to come back the way it did, but the interest, the appreciation of it, I think, I think is coming back more and more.
I think there's probably an element of that nostalgia as well.
Yeah, totally.
People remember those Struzan posters and Bob Peak and Richard Amsel. Good times.
Good times.
Good times.
It's definitely something I miss.
I mean, we didn't live through
movie poster art,
but yes, we did live through it. I guess we weren't illustrators during it.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think that we're ancient. Not that there's anything wrong with being old. Not that there's anything wrong with being old, even though Tyler is older than I am.
Speaking of being old,
I don't look at it anymore.
This is a question. Eva Quaid asked me this privately, but I'm just going to blast it because I love it. How old are each of you?
Oh,
well, Tyler's 1,000 years old, and
15.
I am 23.
Almost 16.
No, I am
almost 16.
No,
I am 38.
You're 38, right? You are 38.
I'm 38.
Wait, how old am I? 36. I'm going to be 37 this year. So.
And I'm 35.
Nice.
You just have to win at everything, right, Kate?
Yep, I'm the winner.
Oh, I didn't put my polarizing filter on my lens. So it's very glare-induced image. Sorry, folks.
F in the chat if you feel the Grim Reaper behind you at all times.
This is my favorite joke.
F in the chat, just in general. Do you have any thoughts?
That's not how F in the chat works, Tyler.
Okay? Oh, man. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got to a spot here that I'm kind of happy with.
Yeah, I'm pretty much there too. I'm just gonna.
I don't hate it.
We got like 5 more minutes, Kate, or 2 minutes? Or?
Yeah, I mean, you guys can peace out at any point, and I'll
Okay.
put
Go
up that,
as long
that
as
cool
we want.
ending screen. No. Anytime you can peace out anytime in the next 5 minutes.
Okay, great.
After that, I'm cutting you off.
Great, thank you, Kate.
I'm just pushing in a smidge more color into this piece. Since I'm using French ultramarine and burnt umber, I am just pumping a little more blue into this.
So French ultramarine and burnt umber. Why would you use that, Tyler?
So I'm glad you asked. French ultramarine is blue, of course. And burnt umber is kind of orange, kind of grayish orange. As you can see, it's pretty orange if you let it get transparent. So that's just opposite sides of the color wheel. So I am just I'm adding in cools with using the blue, so I can kind of finesse the blue back and forth, the temperature back and forth. Whether I have more French ultramarine, it'll be bluer. If I have, or it'll be colder, I guess is a better way of putting it. And if I have more burnt umber, it'll be warmer. So I'm just playing around with that temperature shift. So I'm putting just a little more blue into his jacket. So it's just slightly colder than his face.
And we were taught this back in the day as a great way of getting a black, a really, really dark, vibrant black. Instead of using black, which is kind of lifeless, you can create what's called a chromatic black. And if you ultramarine blue, if you mix basically dark versions of of colors that are opposite to each other in the color wheel, so like, or complements, they're called, like a dark red versus a dark green, or a dark blue versus a dark with a dark orange, you'll basically get a neutral. And if they're dark already, then you'll get a dark kind of a neutral, and that's almost what black is. But the cool thing about using ultramarine blue and burnt umbers, you can vary that black anytime you want. You know, like you can have like what Tyler was just saying, like a cooler black, just a little bit more blue than ultramarine blue than burnt umber, or like a warmer black, a little bit of burnt umber versus ultramarine. So
yeah, it's nice to, I think I still stick to that. I don't really use, when I'm painting in oils, I don't really use a black. I still make that black with French ultramarine and burnt umber, because I want to be able to, maybe I want my black to be a little warmer. So then the ratio of burnt umber to French ultramarine will be different. And I think that the best ratio is, what is it? It's kind of 70-30, would you say, or 60-40?
I've
good black.
Yeah, I think it depends on the paint manufacturer too. Sometimes I've found 50-50 to be honest with you. But usually, yeah, and it but try it out. 70-30 is what we used to be with, especially with like professional artist grade colors, and like Winsor Newton is 70-30 for sure. I found, but yeah, it kind of all depends on the manufacturer.
Everything's relative.
Yeah, everything is relative. I am painting with black, so there you go. Boom. Tyler's debunked.
Just straight up black. Just
you DR'd
he's
it.
doing the wrong thing, folks.
Doing the wrong thing. But thank you.
2-minute warning.
I am. Kate's being very Grand Moff Tarkin. I mean, I'm not going to say it.
He is.
Very, very down to business.
You need to evacuate in your moment of triumph, is what I'm trying to say.
Enough of this.
Oh man, I don't think we're fast enough for Kate. Well, Kate just did. Oh my God! Somebody gong Tyler for that one.
I'm surprised.
F in the chat for Tyler's lack of knowledge.
I'm surprised we didn't quote the whole time.
The stars.
He's only got like 8 lines, so you would have run out of material pretty fast.
8's enough. That's all you need. So
right.
Brevity, soul of wit.
All right, boys. All right. Pencils down. Tell the nice folks at home what your plans are for the next episode and when we will be broadcasting it.
So, all right. Go ahead, Tyler.
Okay. Plan-wise, I think I will keep messing with this one. Maybe very limited palette, like I've been doing here with limited color. I still need to kind of correct the drawing the likeness. So that's probably what I'll keep messing with next week when we come back. We're gonna come back on Friday, right?
Yeah. Friday it is. Yeah, so Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be finishing this off in oils, most likely. Yeah, all of this stuff, minus the the interruptions on my feed, will also be put together in a time lapse. So we're also recording some better looking time lapses of our stuff.
I'll edit out your
I put my
garbage
camera
story.
up. Okay.
Thank you, Kate.
We're working on building better time lapses, and so I have my SLR behind me that I have been recording this whole time. So we should have some better stuff because I think our first ones are a little chunky.
Yeah, but that's not Kate's fault. That's our fault, basically. Like most things in this.
She
like
salvaged them
Nothing
in
is
like a
ever my
laboratory.
Yeah, Kate's more of a salvager than a moderator, I would say.
Yeah.
You know,
when she saw them, I think she was like, she put her gloves on like she's going into surgery to fix these horrifying.
Yikes! All right, it's 5:01, boys.
Oh, all right.
All right, folks.
Everyone.
Signing off. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.
I've been. My name is Ray Bonilla. I've been Ray Bonilla. And thank you for joining us. And thank you, Tyler.
If that's who I really am.
Yeah.
Actually,
and thank you, Kate.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, Tyler didn't thank you before we signed off. We just wanted to leave, but you know, this is a new Tyler, new show. You know,
yeah, so. He's got a new attitude.
Who dis?
So yes, if you would like to see Tyler's beer, feel free to follow us on Instagram and tell us.
At live.brush.
Yeah, live.brush on Instagram. Tyler, where can they find your work? Do you have anything to plug?
You know, because I'm a new person now. I need to make a new website and everything. But now I'm still at TylerJacobsonArt.com, Tyler Jacobson Art on Instagram, and I think it's at Jacobson Tyler on Twitter. But I don't use that too much. So thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah, I'm Ray Bonilla Painter on Instagram. If you're interested in signing up for my painting course through Smart School, we're on I think it's getting close to the last week of enrollment. I think there's only a couple of days left, but you can check my Instagram page for more information on that.
Yeah, definitely do that, guys.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.